Have you ever wondered why some people see patterns where the rest of us see chaos? And why a handful of curious minds end up rewriting history? Today, you and I are stepping into a story that began thousands of years ago, but was completed by a group of people who refused to give up. A story of clues, struggles, hidden messages, and the courage to look deeper when the world said, "It's impossible." The mystery that waited for centuries. For hundreds of years, an ancient script lay buried in dust. People had discovered the stones. People had photographed them. People had admired them. But no one truly understood them. They were symbols carved with precision, patterns repeated with purpose, lines that almost felt like whispers from another world. Some said it was a dead language. Some said it was unbreakable. Some said it was nothing more than decorations. But there were a few, just a few, who believed those markings were more than art. They believed those symbols were a message. And messages are meant to be understood. Introducing our main character. Among these believers was a young woman named Aria. She wasn't famous. She wasn't rich. She wasn't considered a genius by the world. She was just curious. Curious in a way that keeps a person awake at night. Aria worked at a small research center, earning far less than she deserved. Her office was small, the lights flickered sometimes, and most days she ate cold noodles while staring at old pictures of stones filled with symbols. But her heart was on fire. Every time she looked at those symbols, she felt something pulling her closer, as if the stones were saying, "Look again. You missed something." And Aria always listened. Build up. The team of unlikely code breakers. One rainy afternoon, Aria realized something important. She couldn't solve this mystery alone. So she began searching for others like her. People who weren't afraid of the unknown. People who didn't laugh at impossible dreams. That's how she met Jalen, the pattern seeker. A quiet young man who saw patterns faster than most people blink. 2. Dr. Rowan, the historian. Old, grumpy, and brilliant. He remembered stories most people never knew existed. 3. Samira, the language whisperer. She spoke 7 languages. But more importantly, she could feel the soul of a language even without understanding the words. 4. Leo, the tech wizard. Always late, always tired, always holding a cup of coffee. But his mind moved faster than his body ever could. Each of them was different. Each of them carried scars from life. But together, they became something powerful. A team of dreamers. The first breakthrough. For weeks they worked silently. Nights turned into mornings. Coffee turned into more coffee. And diagrams filled the walls of their tiny lab. Then, one day, Jalen froze. His eyes widened. His hand shook slightly as he pointed at a symbol on the screen. "Look," he whispered. The others leaned in. "What do you see?" Samira asked. Jalen swallowed. "Repetition. But not random. It's a sequence. A cycle." Aria's heart nearly stopped. She zoomed in on the stone. Lines, curves, dots. They weren't random. They were ordered, organized. And for the first time, the team realized this wasn't decoration. This was communication. The world enters the story. As news spread, everyone had an opinion. Some supported them. Some mocked them. A few called them dreamers. Others called them fools. One newspaper wrote, "For amateurs attempt the impossible." But the team kept going. Because when you see meaning, when you feel the pull of destiny, you don't stop just because others don't understand. The conflict begins. Then came the hardest moment. Funding disappeared. The research center decided their project was not productive. Their lab was scheduled to be shut down. Their equipment was taken. The lights were turned off. The team stood in the dark, surrounded by empty desks and dust-filled silence. Dr. Rowan, the oldest among them, whispered, "Maybe this is it. Maybe it's time to stop." Aria closed her eyes. Stopped? After coming this far? After all the nights they sacrificed? After all the clues they discovered? No. Aria stepped forward. We're not finished. We may have lost the lab, but we still have the mission. Her voice was calm, but underneath that calm was something unbreakable. The others looked at her, and suddenly quitting no longer felt like an option. The journey continues. Part 1 ending. They moved their work into a small apartment. They shared one old wooden table. Their notebooks piled up like mountains. Their laptops overheated every night. But their hope only grew stronger. Because every symbol they decoded, every pattern they uncovered, every whisper of history they heard, brought them one step closer to unlocking a secret the world had forgotten. A secret waiting for centuries. A secret that would soon change everything. Part 2. The deepening mystery. The struggle grows heavier. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Inside that tiny apartment, the team lived on instant noodles, broken chairs, and pure determination. The world outside was moving fast, but for them, time had slowed into a single purpose. Decode the symbols. Understand the message. Finish what history had started. But the weight of their new life began to show. Samira's eyes were red from lack of sleep. Leo's laptop overheated almost every night. Jalen lost track of dates completely. Dr. Rowan coughed through dusty stacks of old books. And Aria? She carried all their hopes like a silent fire inside her. But even the strongest flame flickers sometimes. One night, when the team had finally fallen asleep, Aria stayed awake. She sat near the window, staring at the glowing city lights below, and she whispered to herself, Why does this matter so much to me? The truth was simple. Deep down, Aria believed that every mystery, every unanswered question, every ancient message, exists for a reason, and maybe, just maybe, she was meant to find this one. The symbol that changed everything. One cold evening, while the city outside drowned in fog, Jalen sat hunched over a single image of an ancient stone. Aria was making tea. Samira was stretching her tired back. Leo was rubbing his eyes, preparing for another long night. Then suddenly, Jalen gasped. A small, soft sound, but enough to freeze everyone. What is it? Aria rushed over. Jalen pointed to a symbol he had seen 100 times before. A triangle with 3 small dots around it. It's not a symbol, he whispered. It's a map. Dr. Rowan's heartbeat seemed to echo through the room. Samira leaned closer. Leo nearly knocked over his chair. A map, Aria repeated. Jalen nodded slowly. I've seen this pattern before. In ancient navigation texts. It's a coordinate system. A way to mark a place. Not a word. The room went silent. A symbol was a location. A clue. A direction. Samira exhaled sharply. This means the stones weren't just communicating ideas. They were pointing to something. Aria's voice dropped to a whisper. To where? The hidden message begins to appear. The team worked like they had never worked before. Pages flew across the table. Markers squeaked on whiteboards. Laptops hummed like tired engines. Piece by piece, symbol by symbol, pattern by pattern, a message took shape. Not a sentence, not a story, but a path, a trail, a puzzle left behind by an ancient civilization that refused to be forgotten. The symbols revealed a starting point, a direction, a measurement, a destination. Leo looked up from his screen and whispered, It's leading to a place that no one has explored properly. Samira added softly, A place believed to be lost. Dr. Rowan's hands trembled as he connected the final clue. An ancient library, he said. A place of knowledge that disappeared thousands of years ago. Aria felt her breath catch. This was bigger than they had imagined. They weren't just decoding symbols. They were following footprints. Footprints left by people who lived centuries before them. People who wanted someone someday to find their message. The doubts begin to rise. But with revelation came doubt. Jalen worried if the path was real. Samira feared they were misreading it. Leo said quietly, If we're wrong, everything we've done, everything we've sacrificed, will mean nothing. Dr. Rowan added, and the world will laugh. Aria listened to everyone. Her heart ached from the pressure. It felt like the whole world was sitting on her shoulders. But she stood straight, took a slow breath and said, "Even if the world laughs, even if we fail, at least we dared to try, and no one can take that away from us." Her words didn't silence their doubts, but they strengthened their courage. Sometimes courage is accepting doubt and still taking the next step. The journey calls them forward. After months of work, sleepless nights, endless arguments, and moments of heartbreak and hope, the team finally pinpointed the destination. A remote desert valley, isolated, unexplored, ignored for centuries, a place that history forgot. Samira whispered, "This is where the message wants us to go." Leo tapped the map. "This is where the path ends." Jalen added, "And where our real journey begins." Aria looked at all of them, their tired faces, their hopeful eyes, their unspoken fears, and she said quietly, but firmly, "Then we go." No one argued, because deep down they all knew, some discoveries can only be made by those who are willing to walk into the unknown. They packed their bags. They gathered their tools. They saved every last coin they had. And as dawn broke over the city, the team boarded a small vehicle and watched their home fade into the distance. Ahead of them lay silence, sand, heat, danger, mystery, but also possibility. In the heart of the desert, something ancient waited for them, something that generations had missed, something that was finally ready to be found. And the code breakers were ready to meet destiny. The long road into silence. The road to the desert was endless. Miles of cracked earth. No trees, no houses, only the wind whispering secrets across the sand. Inside the vehicle, no one spoke much. They were all thinking the same thing. What if we were wrong? Dr. Rowan stared out the window, his old hands resting on his lap. Samira kept tracing her fingers over the map. Jalen watched the GPS like it was a heartbeat monitor. Leo tapped his leg nervously, thinking of all the things that could go wrong. And Aria? She looked ahead, eyes steady, breathing slow, determined, because she had learned something important along this journey. Sometimes, leadership is not about knowing every answer. It's about having the courage to move forward when answers don't exist. The desert greets them. By the time the sun began to sink, they reached the edge of the desert valley. It was nothing like they had imagined. No ancient ruins, no visible landmarks, no sign of a forgotten civilization, just emptiness. A wide, silent, golden emptiness. Leo stepped out first. The hot air hit him like a wall. "Are we sure this is the place?" he whispered. Jalen double-checked the coordinates. "Yes, this is exactly where the trail leads." Samira shaded her eyes and scanned the horizon. "I don't see anything." Even Dr. Rowan looked uncertain. Sand dunes stretched in every direction, bending like waves frozen in time. Aria took a deep breath. "Remember," she said softly, "the people who created the symbols didn't want just anyone to find the truth. It was hidden for a reason." She looked at the valley, her eyes narrowing with purpose. Secrets don't reveal themselves at first glance. The first night, doubt and darkness. As night settled over the desert, the team set up a small camp. The air grew cold. The stars multiplied by the thousands, and the silence felt heavier than the sand beneath their feet. Around the campfire, the team ate quietly. Leo finally broke the silence. "What if we're chasing shadows? What if the library was just a myth?" Samira looked down. Dr. Rowan sighed deeply. Only Aria responded. "Maybe it is a myth," she said calmly. "But isn't it better to chase a myth than to live your whole life wondering what could have been?" Jalen nodded slowly. "That's why we're here. To know, to try, to find the truth." Their spirits lifted slightly, not because they were certain, but because they remembered why they came. The clue beneath the stars. Later that night, unable to sleep, Aria walked away from the camp. She looked up at the sky. The stars were bright, brighter than she had ever seen. Suddenly, a thought struck her. She ran back to the camp and shook Jalen awake. "Jalen, get up. I need you to see something." He rubbed his eyes. "What is it?" Aria pointed at the map. "Look at the symbol with 3 dots around the triangle. What if the dots aren't just coordinates? What if they're stars?" Jalen's eyes widened instantly. He grabbed the star chart book they had brought. Then he compared the pattern. Triangle symbol. 3 dots. Desert valley. Seconds passed like hours. Then Jalen whispered, "Aria, you're right." He traced the pattern slowly. "These 3 stars line up exactly like the 3 dots on the stone. This isn't just a map. It's a celestial marker." Samira woke up from the commotion. "What does that mean?" Aria inhaled deeply. "It means the entrance, the place we're meant to find, isn't visible during the day." She pointed upward. "It only reveals itself when the stars align." Dr. Rowan nearly dropped the lantern he was holding. "My God, they used the sky as a key." Leo stared at Aria in amazement. "So, we follow the stars?" Aria nodded. "Yes, tonight, we search." The search under the night sky. They packed their equipment and began walking. The sand felt colder now. The wind softer. Their footsteps sank quietly beneath them. Above them, the stars formed the ancient pattern. A triangle. 3 guiding lights. A celestial map older than the stones themselves. Jalen kept his eyes on the sky. Samira read the symbols. Leo marked their path. Dr. Rowan held the lantern. And Aria led the way. Each step felt heavier. Not from fear, but from the weight of destiny. After nearly an hour of walking, the wind changed direction. A low humming sound drifted through the valley. Leo stopped. Did anyone hear that? They all listened. There it was again. A distant vibration. Soft, deep, mysterious. Jalen pointed toward a cluster of rocks. "It's coming from there." The team stared at the stone structure hidden in plain sight. Buried by sand. Guarded by time. Revealed only by stars. Aria felt her chest tighten with emotion. They were no longer chasing a myth. They were standing at its door. But the entrance wasn't open. It was sealed. Locked. Waiting. Aria turned to her team. "We've found the place," she said softly. "But now we have to figure out how to get inside." Everyone looked at each other. Exhausted. Hopeful. Terrified. Determined. And ready. Because the greatest secrets are found by those who refuse to stop at the surface. The discovery. They approached the rocks carefully. At first glance, they looked ordinary. Just stones piled together, worn by time. But then Samira noticed something. "Aria," she whispered. "There. Look at that line." A thin, straight groove ran across one of the rocks. Too straight to be natural. Dr. Rowan bent down trembling. This is man-made." Leo's heartbeat quickened. Could it be an entrance? Aria placed her hand on the stone. Cold. Smooth. Deliberate. She whispered, "This is it. We found it." And in that moment, the desert suddenly felt alive.